This weekend's standalone event at Texas for the Truck Series will mark the return of Greg Biffle, as Kyle Busch has given him a golden opportunity in the number 51 Toyota Tundra. In nearly 2 decades of racing, the Washington native has excelled in all 3 NASCAR-sanctioned series. He carries 65 wins along with his name, including 1 championship each in the Grand National and NASCAR Truck Series. And not to mention the millions of dollars made in race winnings, merchandise, and sponsorship endorsements during that time frame. With brands like 3M, Affleck, and Charter behind your back, it's safe to say the Biffle household will have no shortage of spendings over the next few decades. Despite their successful career, the latter half is something the veteran driver would like to forget. Declining performance of the team, the downfall of Roush, and the decisions made over the mid-2010s caused the Biff to go from championship contender to a distant field filler. Before we get the video started, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so that you never miss an upload. Loyalty is valued greatly in society, so stick with NRF by staying up to date with new uploads. And now for the downfall of Greg Biffle. With sponsorship from Grainger to start his career, Greg Biffle set the lower leagues on fire with his incredible driving talent. His career started in 1999 when Jack Roush granted him a Truck Series ride, as he drove the number 54 to a staggering 14 victories in just 2 seasons. With Randy Goss on top of the war wagon, the 50 team went head-to-head with veterans such as Jack Sprague and future teammate Kurt Busch, and he hoisted the hardware in his sophomore campaign. After making his name in trucks, the Cat in the Hat granted Greg Biffle a Grand National ride in the number 60 car. This was a ride powered by Mark Martin, as the Winn-Dixie Ford would win 39 races and act as a championship contender well throughout the 1990s. Sponsor Grainger continued to climb the ladder. The team only heated up even more over the next 2 seasons. Greg Biffle drove the 60 car to victory lane 9 times and led over 2,000 laps in clean air. 2002, he was able to capture his second NASCAR sanctioned championship, beating out Jason Keller by 265 points. The hard work capped off a stellar rise through the ranks, and it was time to stick the Biff in a NASCAR Cup Series ride. Not to mention a heated battle with Jay Sauter after Greg Biffle was completely dumped at Richmond in turn 4. Hey, at least he had the courage to take his helmet off. So the 2003 NASCAR season was a big year for Roush Fenway, as Matt Kenseth put together a consistently good season to earn the organization's first Drivers' Championship. For Greg Biffle, meanwhile, a challenging rookie year put out some of the flames of a hot start. In fact, the 16 team failed to qualify for the 3rd race at Las Vegas, an event which Matt Kenseth and the 17 team reached victory lane for the only time that season. After 16 races, the 16 team was 25th in the drivers' standings, with Randy Goss and company struggling for results. Fortunately, Greg Biffle was able to pull off an upset victory during the Pepsi 400 at Daytona, marking as his first career victory in just his 24th start. His rookie season wrapped up with 1 win, 3 top 5, 6 top 10 finishes, and a 20th place finish in the point standings. After a solid 2004 season that saw him capture 2 checkered flags, Biffle got some fresh new primary sponsors in Subway and National Guard. With the new financial backing, the 3rd season was a charm, and the 16 car went on to have a breakout season in the major leagues. He captured the most checkered flags of any driver that season, winning 5 races, including a photo finish with teammate Mark Martin. He also netted 1,322 circuits in clean air and finished runner-up to Tony Stewart in the 2005 standings. These are great statistics to carry as a driver, and if the results stay strong, a championship won't be far from reach. Unfortunately, his 2006 and 2007 seasons were largely inconsistent, and despite scoring 3 wins, he failed to make the postseason 2 seasons in a row. This included a controversial win at Kansas, as the Affleck team coasted past the checkered flag and was accused by Jimmy Johnson and Clint Boyer of not maintaining speed. Ultimately, NASCAR ensured the victory for Greg Biffle, providing one of the only bright spots during that time frame. After sponsor Ameriquest struggled to fund the 16 car throughout 2007, 3M was signed as the 16 team's primary sponsor, with Dish Network and Jackson Hewitt paying for hood space as well. The most notable change, however, was on top of the pit box, as Greg Irwin replaced the mediocre Pat Dreisen as head crew chief. Brand new combination repaired the holes of the 16 team, and Greg Biffle rebounded to make the postseason in 2008 and finished 3rd in the season standings with 2 wins on the year. The two remained scotched together for 3 more seasons as Greg Biffle would win 2 more races before a disappointing 2011 season. With the Biff missing the postseason for the first time since 2007, a new face known as Matt Pucia would take over the head crew chiefing duties for the 16 team. At the time, they were a key figure away from becoming championship contenders, so the change on the War Wagon was valued to turn things around. The consistency started right off the bat as the Red and Black 3M machine netted 3 straight third-place finishes and would later win the Spring Texas race under the lights. He also netted his second win at Michigan and finished the regular season as the points leader over Dale Earnhardt Jr. Despite a sluggish postseason, Greg Biffle ended his season with 12 top 5s, 21 top 10 finishes, and an average finish of 10.2. It was a rebound year for the 16 team, and it was a positive result on the track for Roush that season. One dark spot for the team was on June 27th as it was announced that Matt Kenseth would leave Roush Fenway Racing after over a decade aligned together. Grand National Champion Ricky Stenhouse Jr. would take over the 17 car next season, with Best Buy and Zest as the primary sponsors. While they still had a talented roster, Matt Kenseth's departure showed the organization was struggling behind the scenes and that there were greener pastures in the NASCAR garage. While it had no direct on Greg Biffle, the loss of a crafty veteran was going to set the organization back, and with brand new Generation 6 car, the performance of these cars could decline once the season starts in Daytona. Even with the puzzling situation at Roush, Greg Biffle and the 16 team were poised for another solid season, especially with both driver and crew chief remaining glued together. Greg Biffle won a monumental race for Ford at the 2013 Quicken Loans 400, as the race was the manufacturer's 1,000th victory in NASCAR competition. Most certainly, there was a lot to smile about, as Matt Pucia was once again sticking with the Biff and kept him solidly in a chase spot for the entire regular season. In the postseason, however, the bad results were not filtered out, as Greg Biffle and company only earned 3 top 10 finishes in the 10 races. His final statistics only saw him earn that 1 win, 4 top 5s, and 13 top 10 finishes. Not bad numbers, but they were well off from his 2012 statistics. The most alarming stat, however, was his 124 laps out front and an average finish of 14.4. Compared to 2013, his laps out front saw an 82.9% decrease and the average finish dropped from 10.2. Meanwhile, Matt Kenseth had a career resurgence, winning a season-high 7 races and finishing second in the points with his brand new team. The slow decline in performance continued into 2014 as the 3M machine only scored 3 top 5s and 11 top 10s on the year. With the new chase format, Greg Biffle barely squeaked into the 16-driver field and was eliminated in the first round. Seriously, even JTG Doherty Racing looked more competitive during the Challenger run. What a joke. The only highlight for the 16 team was breaking the races without a DNF record set by Herman Beam, as his 89 race streak is still the most in NASCAR's record books. With the new caution clock in place, this record is unlikely to be broken anytime soon. As the championship trophies collected dust and the performance continued to fall at Roush, more rumors and driver departures swirled around the dying organization. This time, Carl Edwards, a strong driver for 11 years, denounced his departure in late July. He would later join former teammate Matt Kenseth at Joe Gibbs Racing, driving the number 19 Aris Toyota in an expanded entry. As for Greg Biffle, the rumor mill had him joining Michael Waltrip Racing, and that escalated when Darrell Waltrip suggested on live TV that the 44-year-old would indeed pilot one of the organization's Toyotas. A week later, however, Greg Biffle confirmed that he would remain at Roush Fenway Racing and that a long-term contract extension was in the works. It was also likely 3M would stick with the Biff, as he stated, "We have every intention to our knowledge that 3M is coming back, 100%. That is, until the decade-long sponsor unstuck itself from the Biff and joined Jeff Gordon for 11 races on the hood of his retirement tour. This was a huge blow to the 16 crew, as the full season funding was removed from the Ford Fusion. Fortunately, Ortho would step up as the primary sponsor a few weeks later and grant the money needed to fund a competitive race team. Despite more inexperience with new teammate Trevor Bayne, Greg Biffle will continue to be the bright spot at Roush and make the postseason for the 4th year in a row. Even with the lowered bars of expectations, Greg Biffle greatly underachieved in his Ford Fusion. The team completely fell off a cliff, only scoring 3 top 5s, 4 top 10 finishes, and a 20th spot in the standings, completely summed up an abysmal season for the Cat in the Hat. Hey, I wonder how Carl Edwards did in his first year away from Roush. It's not like he won 2 crown jewels in the same year. Wait, never mind. He also overwent a career resurgence. Entering the 2016 season of NASCAR auto racing, more changes were made at Roush Fenway Racing. Matt Puccia was exterminated on top of the pit box and was replaced by Brian Patty. Besides the competitive 2012 season with Clint Bowyer, you couldn't find a more mediocre head crew chief in the garage. To make matters worse, Ortho decided it would not renew its contract after 1 season and left the sport entirely. Only this time, a new primary sponsor for even 10 races was nowhere to be found. A few weeks before the haulers drove at Daytona, KFC was announced as the primary sponsor for Speed Weeks as well as the Kentucky race in July. Even with Colonel Sanders lending money, there was a strong amount of Roush Performance and Ford EcoBoost events on the 16. Having a handful of unsponsored races does not inspire confidence, and a rough year was ahead for the aging NASCAR star. With a declining race team, mediocre crew chief, and an inexperienced roster at Roush Fenway Racing, Greg Biffle put forth his worst career campaign. 1 top 5, 3 top 10s, and a 23rd place points finish. Heck, even the consistency was gone as well, as the 16 car failed to finish 7 times during the campaign as well. Things were not finger-licking good, and it led to sponsor Cheez-It departing the organization after 7 seasons. As the campaign dwindled down, Greg Biffle spoke about his potential future, stating that if he couldn't compete in the top 10, he would plan on doing something else. As the checkered flag flew, the Roush Performance Ford Fusion finished 17th, 1 lap down to race winner and eventual champion Jimmie Johnson. The very next day, Greg Biffle was granted his walking papers from Roush Fenway, and the 16 team was liquidated on Black Monday. Unable to find employment elsewhere, the Washington native's career had reached the hourglass. So what caused Greg Biffle's demise? It's easily his loyalty to Jack Roush and the organization that developed him into a NASCAR star. In a way, this reminds me of the Titanic, as you could see the decline of Roush Fenway Racing coming from a mile away. While Matt Kenseth and Carl Edwards fled towards the lifeboats, Greg Biffle stuck with the captain until his car sunk into the Atlantic. Honestly, this was the story of his career, as he was always a team player in most cases on the racetrack. You remember back to the 2012 Daytona 500, as instead of making a move for the win, he helped push Matt Kenseth to his 2nd Daytona 500 championship in 4 seasons. Greg Biffle carried that mentality over his 2-decade career, and it certainly helped him build his personality and character. His veteran team mentality helped rookies Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and Trevor Bayne get a hold of the NASCAR Cup Series and improve results week in and week out. With that said, he sacrificed his career and other opportunities by doing so. As for this weekend, Greg Biffle has a great chance of at least competing for victory. The Biff was able to shoot pistols twice during his NASCAR Cup Series career at Texas, and this is one of his better tracks as a driver. While the track has been recently repaved, he should be a threat with Kyle Busch equipment. As for a career resurgence, realistically, he isn't going to the Cup or Xfinity Series anytime soon. With that said, if Greg Biffle can prove he still has the drive, he will certainly get some more starts at Kyle Busch Motorsports. Currently, the team is struggling with Harrison Burton and Todd Gilliland, with most drivers not named Kyle Busch in the 51 struggling as well. They need a veteran presence in the organization, and Greg Biffle, the ultimate team player, could be the missing piece to success. So anyways, this is NRF signing out, and just remember, life's a beach and then you drive.